But I said to myself, God has given me the space to heal. People pray and they said, God, I want to be healthy. I want to have sound mind. I want to be peaceful, all of this. And God walks them through my door. And he says, Chelsea, this person is the next person that you're going to be a vessel for their healing. And so far as my doors are open for people to walk through for healing, I'm never going to go hungry.
Yeah, I had a great time talking with Chelsea. She really broke down what it means to be a provider and a carer for patients. When you think about a nurse practitioner and you think about doctors or house call doctors or primary care physicians, sometimes you don't have enough time to talk to them, or you feel rushed. And that's not the case with Chelsea. She really takes her time, and her heart and her goal is to make sure that she addresses the total picture of patients and their families and loved ones, and to take care of them as early as birth all the way to end of life. And that was her heart, and that's her reason for starting her practice. And we had a great conversation. And you know, if you're interested in finding a good nurse practitioner, you're a good PCP, someone to take care of you, and you're in the DFW area, Chelsea's great. We had a good time just breaking down her reason and her passion for starting her practice and the ups and downs of being a business owner and being a mom, and it was a great time. So enjoy this Care Pod with Chelsea, nurse practitioner with Orchid Wellness. Chelsea, what's up?
Hi.
How's your day?
Going well. Everybody's alive, so we love that.
That's
yes.
what's up. Well, hey, thanks for hopping on with us,
of course.
Hanging out here at the podcast.
Of course.
Well, if you don't mind, Chelsea, tell us about yourself. I know you, but they don't know you, so feel free to tell us about yourself.
So I'm Chelsea Debrah. Mm-hmm. I am a mom of two. Hey. I have a 3-year-old very interesting little guy and a 7-year-old interesting little girl. Mm. They definitely keep me on my toes. Yeah. Otherwise, I am the owner of Orchid Wellness. It is a primary care and wellness clinic for all ages. Nice. And I also own Empower Health Partners, which is a business consultant in web development, business, brand development organization. And for Empower Health, I'm actually working on establishing medical assistant training and phlebotomy training for the individual that is still working but wants to get into the healthcare field, but can't necessarily quit their 9-to-5 or a regular job, or like a single mom, or
that's cool.
Because healthcare, people are always going to be sick or always want to get better. And so healthcare is a field that has better job prospects than most fields. And so I just want to allow people the opportunity to be able to step foot in that field if they're appropriate for it, obviously.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's beautiful. That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
That's cool. What made you go into the healthcare field?
Believe it or not,
I
actually have a degree in human resources and marketing.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Cool. I started my career in human resources. When I went into human resources, it was to be the advocate for the employees, to take care of the employees, to be the nurse for employees. And I started and quickly realized that that's not it. I realized that it was actually taking care of the company. And so I remember I was walking down the hallway in the company I was working in, and somebody said, "Oh, HR is coming." And I felt like people were kind of like trying to do the right thing because I was coming. I was like, ew, I don't want to be this person. I don't want to be the person that people feel like they need to do the right thing when I'm coming around. Right. I want to be the person that people feel comfortable being vulnerable with. So one Tuesday, I was laying on bed with my mom, and I was like, I hate my job. I want a job that I can take care of people. And she was like, if you want to take care of people, go be a nurse. That's where they take care of people. So
moms know the best.
Yeah. So that's how it started. That's how it started. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to school. So I went back to school. I was not a science person, but found myself doing the sciences, and I absolutely loved
biology,
everything. All of it. and I absolutely loved it.
Nice.
If you ask me if I have one regret, that would be my one regret, was not have just gone to med school.
Cool. Wow.
Because I loved it so much, but at the point I was like, I've already done 4 years of school. I've already done these classes. I don't want to go back to school for so long. So I went back to school to be a
like
nurse.
a 2-year degree, like
I did the
accelerated?
Yeah, I did the accelerated. So it was 1 year prerequisites, and then I did the accelerated for 2 years.
Wow.
And then after that, I became a nurse.
Wow. And so now life changed.
Yes. So it really gave me the opportunity to care for people.
Yeah.
But in doing that, I also realized that, yes, nurses do a lot and they change a lot and they handle a lot, but I still wasn't in the position to change lives the way I wanted to. Yeah. So I said to myself, how can I do more? So I looked into being a nurse practitioner, and it seemed like another step forward in being able to do more. So I went back to school. When I started my nursing career, I was 4 months pregnant. And then when I took my NCLEX, I remember so well, I was like in the big middle of morning sickness, which takes the whole day. And I would like take my exam and I would need to go throw up. So I'll raise my hands and I'll be like, I need to go throw up.
Wow.
And I'll go throw up. And then I will come back and take my exam. And then when I decided to go back to school for my nurse practitioner, my daughter was 5 months old. And I went back to school full-time, working full-time, did that. And then I graduated in 2020.
Wow.
In the middle of COVID.
Wow.
Yes. So
that's a lot. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I became a nurse practitioner. I took my boards in 2021 because in 2020, my apartment burned down in an apartment fire. So I lost everything in the fire. So I had to like take a break from all of that and just figure out life again. Because, you know, when they say like you're starting from scratch, I started from scratch again. Like I had nothing.
Wow.
But I always say I found God because what I had was my education, I had life. And those two things were really all I needed to restart. And obviously with the grace of God, I went back to work, started rebuilding, started buying shoes again because I had a lot of shoes and everything burned down.
Oh my God.
So I had like 300 pairs of shoes.
Yo, and they all burned down?
Everything burned down. When I walked out of my apartment, I was wearing 2 different color flip-flops, a green one and a pink one. And they were all the left shoe, the left slip flip-flop.
Gosh.
And I had to start over.
That's wild.
Yeah, I had to start over.
You need to write a book.
I think about writing a book, but the plate of a business owner is overflowing. Yeah. So that was, you know, I did my board. I took my boards, was working, got married, had my son. Then like 2 years into working, 3 years into working, I decided I wanted to practice the way I wanted to practice. Like that vision that I had when I was laying on my mom's bed, like I want to take care of people. When you work for somebody, you can't really do that. The last place I was working prior to starting my practice, it was 7.5 minutes to 8 minutes per patient. And you just really couldn't give care. So I said to myself, it's time. So I started looking for a place to have my own business. And I found my current location. And it used to be, a doctor used to have that place. So it used to be a clinic.
Oh, nice.
And it was all set up for me. I mean, it was all set up. And interestingly enough, when I found that space, I was just kind of researching, you know, the space, and I found out that the doctor that owned it she passed away during COVID. And I remember thinking to myself, this is a really good way for me to honor her memory. Is for me to turn that space into another place of healing.
That's cool.
You know, and again, when I was looking for a space for my clinic, it was so many different options, right? And one of the options was to build from the ground up everything. And one of the options was to kind of find a small space. And I found the space, and it was 3,000 square feet. And everybody was like, "You are absolutely crazy. That is too big. That is too big."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, I don't want to have to like move
Right.
when I get established."
Right.
And the picture I have for this space is I need it to be a place of healing. I need it to be a space where when people walk in, they feel like, okay, it's going to get better.
Yeah.
And so I left it up to God and signed on the dotted line. And sometimes I asked myself, what is wrong with you? Why did you decide to do this? And in the middle of that, I went through a divorce.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So here I was with a new business, my kids. My son was 2 at the time. My daughter was 6. And I had a new business, which was barely making anything, and I was single.
Wow.
Yeah. And I said, God, I know that you're doing it, but I know they said the Lord doesn't give you anything you can't handle. And I'm like, God is confusing me with somebody else because it's not me.
Right.
Right? Because everything, like, I feel like I could not catch a break. All right. When I started the business, I budgeted for 6 months of credentialing, because everybody knows credentialing takes forever.
Right.
So I said, okay, 6 months of credentialing, that's good enough time. It took me 18 months. Yes.
Wow.
It took me 18 months for credentialing.
Wow.
And 6 months, I was like, okay, after 6 months, I'm going to start, seeing patients. I'm going to start making money. 18 months. The bills don't go away. Daycare doesn't go away. Rent doesn't go away. But I said to myself, God has given me the space to heal. People pray and they said, God, I want to be healthy. I want to have sound mind. I want to be peaceful, all of this. And God walks them through my door. And he says, Chelsea, this person is the next person that you're going to be a vessel for their healing. And so far as my doors are open for people to walk through for healing, I'm never going to go hungry. And even the end of this month, right? The end of the month, all the bills keep coming in. And I'll tell you, like, when this month was ending, I was like, whew, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, like, the very day that it was like, if you don't pay the bills today, like tomorrow you're late. That day God showed up. And he shows up. And so, like, I keep telling myself, okay, like, he's testing you, so just keep the faith.
Yeah.
But I'm human, right? So I'm like, ooh, I am keeping the faith, but the faith needs to keep coming. And still, it happens all the time. Where God shows up for me when I'm not expecting him. And I've come to, like, just believe that as this is what is going to happen, that I'm going to get to the 11th hour. I'm going to get to the point where I'm just like, it's a minute to time, and then the phone will ring or something will happen, and I'll be like, okay, I see you doing your thing. Thank you, but don't wait so long this time, So yeah, that's my story.
Wow.
And I'm just living it.
That's amazing. I think a lot of times people don't realize when they have a vision or they decide to do something, we don't realize, all of us don't realize, like, it takes a lot. And I think what your story, just hearing a little bit of your story, it's cool to hear, like, resilience, right? To hear the bounce back, to hear the fight, to hear, and I think that goes for anyone who's, like, interested in being a nurse or a nurse practitioner. It takes fight, and that's cool. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, and I have a T-shirt line that says "Be your own cheerleader," because it's not gonna come from anywhere.
It can't.
You're gonna have
true.
to just light the fire under your own self, because everybody's dealing with something.
True.
And everybody is looking for a cheerleader, and people don't have all of it. So you're gonna have to be your own cheerleader a lot of the times, and it's not easy. If I could read the crystal ball, probably wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But I've done it, and every day I keep doing it, and I wake up and I say, all right, let's try again. Just keep on going.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool, man. So what? Let's talk about like being a nurse practitioner. So what? If anyone doesn't even know what a nurse practitioner is, or is it like a doctor of a nurse, or is it like what is a nurse practitioner?
So a nurse practitioner is an advanced practice registered nurse.
Okay.
So
break that down for me. What does that mean?
You're a registered nurse, but you're allowed to do some advanced practice things. In Texas, as a nurse practitioner, I practice with a collaborating physician who allows me to basically practice as a nurse practitioner, to write prescriptions and to treat patients. Okay. And so I am a PCP, a primary care provider, so I can write prescriptions, disease management, physicals. I see all ages, so from newborn all the way up. So I do child checks, I do vaccines, I do your blood work, all of that stuff. And I think the way I practice is a little unique because of my background in practice, is that I am a little bit more all encompassing than a lot of nurse practitioners. But yeah, it's your PCP, your general physician, basically.
Cool.
It's the way a nurse practitioner practices.
That's cool. What can a nurse practitioner do, for those who don't know, that a doctor can't do? Is there differences between?
So a doctor can do everything a nurse practitioner can do, but a nurse practitioner cannot do what a doctor can do.
Okay.
Yeah. So a nurse practitioner's role is a subset of what a doctor can do. In Texas, like, there are some prescriptions that nurse practitioners cannot write. And in like Texas, there are some places that a nurse practitioner cannot practice, or if they have to practice, they have to have certain things in place in order to practice. But yeah, so that's how that works.
That's cool. Wow. So it took you how long to become a nurse practitioner?
It took me, so my daughter was born in 2017, July. So I started December of 2017, and I graduated April of 2020.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Wow. Any advice you would give to someone who's like, let's say they're in your shoes, like you were a nurse for a little bit, and then you went and said, I want to become a nurse practitioner. Any advice you'd like to give anyone as they're going into nurse practitioner school?
Don't limit yourself. Like, anywhere that you can get experience. Like, I have experience in aesthetics, I have experience in family practices, I have experience in urgent care, I have experience in ER, home health. All of those things actually do work together for my good. Like, when a patient walks through my door, I'm able to pull from all of those different experiences to give them the best experience possible, so that when a patient walks through my door and they said, I was just admitted at the hospital and I just came back home, I'm looking at them as my home health patient, right? Yeah. But if they walk through the door and they're saying blood pressure is so and so and so, I'm giving some urgent care, or I'm giving some emergency care, depending. My goal as a PCP is to prevent my patients from going into the hospital, which for home health, that's also the goal, right? And so for me, it's teaching my patient and empowering my patient for them to know more than they did when they walked through the door. And that's what I tell my patients. When you walk through the door, you should know more than you did when you walk out. So that's usually what it looks like.
That's good. That's good. Cool.
I'm on this journey of things that are happening for you, not to you.
Yeah, and for others too.
Yes. And obviously when they're happening, you're never going to think that they're happening for you, because you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
But when the reason for it happening shows up, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So even when I was going through my divorce, I had a patient walk through the door, and she was like going through very, very similar what I was going through, and I was able to reach her and let her get the help that she needed. And I said, okay, God, if this is the reason why I went through this, I guess you know what's best. But a lot of times things happen, like it happens. There's so many things that happen that way. Like sometimes, like I would buy something for the clinic, and my assistants would be like, "Why did you buy this?" Then a patient would walk in the door, and we would need that particular thing.
Wow.
And it happens all the time. So a lot of times I just trust God and say, okay, you know what you're doing here. So I'm just gonna kind of trust you in this, because if I decide to trust myself, I would truly believe this is crazy.
Yeah, 100%,
So but if somebody wants to become a nurse practitioner, I would definitely tell them, get all the experience. All the experience. Don't like limit yourself, especially if you want to be able to be a very diverse nurse practitioner, because you just never know. Like I have some experience in lactation consulting, and that becomes very useful when I have newborn parents, and they just are struggling with breastfeeding or anything like that. I can really give some help there. So it just depends on what they need. Yeah.
So your story is unique because you were in like corporate world, I guess. So you went from like no clinical experience to then saying like, let me just hop into, like, did you like, were you able to like understand like what you were getting into, or was it like, how was that?
Absolutely not.
Because I know there's a lot of people who also kind of want to make that jump, but like, what were some things that you were like, whoa, I didn't realize?
So I was not a science person. Like when I did my bachelor's degree in business, my science requirement, I did like geography. Like I was not a science person at all. And I remember I had, I really struggled during my prerequisite. I really struggled with anatomy and physiology. I struggled with physiology because anatomy wasn't too bad, but physiology was
rough.
And I had this tutor, and I would never forget. Like he had so much time and just broke it down for me completely. He really dumbed it down, and I got it. And by the end of it, I remember nursing school when they would show like the wound and it looks like really nice. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. This is amazing.
Epithelialization.
Yes. I'm like, oh my God, this is cool. And I really fell in love with the human body and what it could do. In practicing now, I am really falling in love with the human body and what it could do. But I'm also like more on how our emotional state really affects our
100%.
Physical state. And most of my patients and myself, we are on this journey of pouring into ourselves and being at that good emotional level so that we are at the best versions of ourselves. And that's really where most of my treating goes is, yes, we do the physical, you know, let's get your blood work where it needs to be, let's get your A1C where it needs to be. But a lot of my patients, I'm asking the question, how are you pouring into yourself?
Mental.
Yes, and in my clinic, I have a sign that says, the Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself, not more than yourself. So you need to love yourself in order to love your neighbor.
True.
And so that's really one of the biggest principles of my practice. And I ask my patients, how are you loving yourself today? And everybody is supposed to be doing something on that.
That's cool. That's cool. Wow. Yeah, it's like I said, your story is like so cool.
Thank
like,
you.
It's really neat. Like,
thank you.
It's neat to hear. Okay, so we're gonna flip it up just a little bit. So you're from Ghana, right? So tell me about like just Ghana as a whole, just like your experience, and then like being like from Africa and then America. My family's from Nigeria, so it's like tell me about that whole experience and like.
So being from Ghana, first of all, like moving to America, my expectation and the reality was so far apart. It's not even.
It wasn't like Hollywood, like.
No. Like, where are the trees that the money grows on, and the milk on the streets, and like, where is everything that I was promised? Okay, so moving to America was completely, I'm not going to say a disappointment, but it was definitely a wake-up call, because life in America for me was actually a lot harder than life back home. Okay, like back home, I never drove. We had a driver, and I had to learn how to drive in America.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So that was completely not as expected. But on the flip side, there was so much more opportunity here. And the idea that if you work hard, you would make it was something that I could actually see happening. So it allowed me to think, okay, I just have to keep going. And I just have to wake up every day and tell myself I'm going to keep trying. Regardless of how much it sucks, it's gonna work out. So that's the difference.
The threshold is higher.
Yes. And if today I tell myself, okay, I want to go to med school, as hard as it's gonna be, I can do it. You know. So that's the other flip side of it. And culturally, I feel like it's what you make it. There are definitely a lot of challenges being a Black woman. That comes with some challenges. But in general, maybe it's me and my personality, but I feel like a lot of things are doable. So
That's cool.
I just do my best to do them.
That's cool. Wow.
But being from Ghana also means that I meet people that I can relate to. There are a lot of people from the African continent in America that are in places of intellect that you can, you, for instance. I have a lot of people that are educated, have a big community, a good community that I can tap into. And so that also, as much as I am in a foreign land, there's a lot of home available.
That's cool.
I just have to be able to find it.
Your local jollof rice.
Yes.
Ghana's jollof rice is
We
good.
are not going to.
We're not going to talk about that. Okay.
No.
All right.
No.
We'll leave that off for now.
Yes. The Ghana-Nigeria jollof
It's like
war
a battle.
will not happen here.
Nigerian jollof rice and Ghana jollof rice
It will not happen here.
has divided nations.
Yes, it will not happen here.
Well, this is a safe space.
Yes, this is a safe space. It will not happen here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, that's. But as a nurse practitioner, I take my job as a nurse practitioner very seriously. It is my ministry. Absolutely, it is my ministry. It is. I see myself as a vessel.
Yeah.
It is as a vessel, what I'm being used for.
Yeah.
My clinic space is a space of healing, and I take that very seriously.
That's cool.
And I tell my patients, I give a lot of tough love. Yes, I had a patient complain. She's like, "You always want to talk to me," and I'm like, "I know, because you're not giving me what I want." So yes, and a lot of times when patients walk in my door, they're like, "I'm looking for a provider that cares. I'm looking for a provider that is really interested in what I'm doing, and I'm just not a number." And I tell them, everybody gets a speech in the first visit, and I tell them, if you are telling me that you want a provider that cares and all of that, you have to understand that you're not going to get this passive treatment where you're getting prescriptions filled without conversations. You are getting things done for you without nobody talking to you. That's not happening again.
That's not care.
Yes. And so I tell them, I'm going to be, if I send you a prescription for 2 weeks, that means we have to have another conversation in 2 weeks. 3 months, we have to have another conversation in 3 months. And so in the beginning, they're like, man, I'm seeing you a lot. And I'm like, man, I need to take care of you. So we are in agreement.
That's cool.
But I give a lot of tough love. And that's the reason why I'm able to take patients from A1C of 10.1 in August to A1C of 4.6 today.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because, but I was
Outcomes.
talking to her once a week. We were doing a lot of nutritional education.
Wow.
We were doing a lot of physical, emotional education. She was keeping a food log. She was, I mean, I was on it, and she was on it because she knew she was going to be talking to me in a week, and I was going to ask her all these questions. Yes. And so now I have this patient. We started a bunch of medications because she was at 10.1, and now we're taking medications off because you don't need all of this.
That's cool.
You don't need all of this. And I tell my patients, I'm not anti-medication or pro-medication. I am pro-patient. What's going to work for you is what we're going to do.
Yeah. Wow. Why do you think, kind of going off of this is a good, like what you were mentioning is so pivotal. What's your thoughts on polypharmacia, and like why does that happen, that patients get so many meds? What do you think?
Because I'm not going to talk for any provider because everybody practices differently.
Right.
But the way I practice is, what's the goal for the patient? Okay. I tell my patients, no patient in my practice is a diabetic over 7. I don't tolerate that in my practice. That's my standard.
Right.
Okay. So if you come to me as a patient and your A1C is above 7, we're going to be best friends. We're going to be talking once a week, okay, until we get you there.
Right.
If you come into my practice and your blood pressure is consistently over 140 over 90, we're going to be best friends.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to be talking.
You're from Chelsea.
Yeah, we're going to be talking until we get you there. And we are tweaking medications weekly. We are on it.
That's cool.
Consistently until we get you to the goal.
That's cool.
Okay?
Yeah.
And until I can trust you to take care of yourself for 3 months and not come back with higher numbers.
Outside.
Yes. And they know this. Like, my patients know this. And so when they come and they know, like even somebody told me today, well, let me get up and go exercise because she's going to ask me.
It's like you're a trainer. You're like, it's the accountability.
Yes. But I also expect my patients to expect a lot from me.
Right.
Okay. And I tell them, look, if you come in here, you're not getting the best of Chelsea, you need to let me know. Because you don't walk in this door for subpar treatment.
Right.
You go to a restaurant, the food sucks, you're going to talk about it.
100%.
You come into this space, carrot's not where you want it to be, say something.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, I expect a lot from my patients. I give them accountability homework. And so if you haven't gotten your dental check set up, next appointment, please tell me when your next appointment is.
Yeah.
We need to document that your next dental date is at this date. And so I hold them accountable. Because what's the goal for the patient? So if we need to get blood pressure to this point and one medication is not doing it, we'll add on a second medication. But best believe we're changing lifestyle completely.
100%. Yeah. What's the root?
Completely. Yes. Completely. Like I am talking the patient through their day and finding out where is the pothole that we need to fill.
Wow.
And so we are really revamping the patient's life. Everything is not just status quo. We can't put the same variables together and expect the same result, a different result all the time. We have to change the variables. Yes, and so I talk with the patient to find what the difference is so we can really solve that problem. Sometimes it's sleep, stress management, hydration, and we talk about all these things. And if you talk to every patient of mine, they'll tell you, I have 5 pillars that we work on at every visit, and I'm going to ask you how you're doing with sleep, how are you doing with your stress management, how are you doing with your hydration, how are you doing with your nutrition, how are you doing with your exercise.
Nice. 5 P's.
Yeah, if you are hitting an A in all of these things, you're good.
Nice.
Anywhere you're failing, we need to find out why you're not sleeping. What's happened in the last 2 weeks? Okay, what's happened? Why you're not drinking water? What's happening? So that's how I practice, and every patient knows. So they know. They make the notes, and they say, okay, I wrote it down. This is what's happening with water. And I'm like, okay, water's number is not good. Let's work on it.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and I give them achievable goals. I'll say, okay, let's go from 4 bottles to 5 bottles for 2 weeks. And we'll check back in 2 weeks, see if you're doing 5 bottles.
Wow.
And we'll just go from there. And giving them the piecemeal, you know, assignments makes it doable. I don't just say, eat properly.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, what do I eat? You know, I say eat rice.
Yeah.
Eat this amount of rice, eat brown rice, eat sweet potatoes, eat vegetables, eat 4 ounces of, I give them specifics.
That's awesome.
And so then they just go off of what I tell them to do. Makes it very simple for them.
That's cool. Yeah. What do you do when a patient is not adhering to like the guidance?
We have accountability envelopes.
Oh.
So they put money in the envelope, and if they hit the goal, they come back from their money.
That is cool.
And I tell my patients, I tell them, okay, now you owe me. Here's your envelope, put it in here.
That's cool.
And they know that when they hit their goal, they're gonna come back and they're gonna come back there, get their envelope back. So
that's brilliant.
We gotta get to the goal,
yeah.
right? So something's gotta give.
Man.
Sometimes I reward patients. If you hit the goal, you get free IV therapy. I send patients to get massages. So I want them to get to the goal.
Yeah.
So if they get to the goal, we'll get it. Yeah.
That's cool.
So.
Wow. Hey, Chelsea, you're doing some good stuff.
Thank you.
Anything you would like to say as we kind of come to a close?
I think that as a society, we've focused a lot about not pouring into ourselves and minding other people's business. I think it's important for us to start investing in ourselves and saying that in my life, I am the most important person in my life. Okay, not your spouse, not your child, not your business, you.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it in the point of view of selfishness.
Right.
I'm saying it in the point of view of self-love. Self-love is not selfish. Okay, investing in yourself, saying I'm taking 10 minutes to just sit in the silence without any distractions. I'm taking a walk just because it's a lot going on.
Right.
I'm seeing a therapist. I'm seeing a massage therapist. I'm going for physical therapy. I'm going for a workout class. I'm going to the gym, whatever it is. But in your 24 hours, you should be able to pinpoint the activity that you did for you.
Yeah, that's good.
Because if you're saying that in 24 hours you did not give any time for yourself,
Man.
You have fallen off your priority list.
Yeah.
And once you fall off your priority list, all the other things that you are accountable for, they start falling. And so, and I'm guilty, we're all guilty of it, where we get focused on something and it's just like we become the people that we say, oh, I'll get to that later.
Yeah.
I'll get to that later. Who has time for that? But if something is going to be compromised on, it should not be you. It should not be you.
You need to stop.
Yeah.
Wow, this is good.
It should not be you, because as soon as you are okay with you being the one that falls off the list, you've lost your way. Because you can never catch up.
Right.
You know, because then how many times do we say, oh, I need to go get a haircut, or I need to go get my nails done, or I need to go to the gym, and then you're like, oh, I don't have time today, and then you fall off the list, and then tomorrow you fall off the list because it was easy for you to say to yourself, I will go tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, it was easy for you to put yourself off the priority list.
And put others on it.
And loving your neighbor more than yourself. And then soon you being off the priority list becomes a habit. So that should be the non-negotiable.
Wow.
I cannot fall off the list. You can.
Yeah.
I cannot fall off the list.
And you know what's crazy? Like when you think about us in healthcare, We are healthcare
terrible
providers.
at it. We're terrible
Like
at it.
we do this so much. I'm saying
terrible
myself,
at it.
like we think about other people so much that we neglect ourselves.
We are terrible
Nurses, doctors, physical therapists, whoever it is.
We're terrible at it.
And I think what you're saying is just super powerful because, you know, that's where caregiver burnout comes into play. That's where clinician burnout comes into play. Is we're constantly thinking about other people, but not pouring into ourselves.
Yes, we don't. Like, as a healthcare community, you will find very few of us that take extra steps to pour into
excellent care of ourselves.
Yes, to pour into ourselves. I mean, a lot of times patients are like, my provider's telling me to eat properly, and I'm looking at my provider and like, you need to eat properly.
Yeah.
You know, so
Wow.
it becomes non-negotiable.
Yeah, it's like looking at an overweight trainer. Like, you have an overweight trainer who's like, I don't know if I can trust what you're saying. It's like the same thing.
Yeah. And, you know, when it becomes like a non-negotiable, it's like somebody saying, treat me for free. You're like, what? No.
Yeah.
Right? It's non-negotiable.
Yeah.
It's not something you're ever going to do. But if you get to the point where you start doing that, nobody's going to take you seriously.
No.
You know, same thing. If you tell yourself, on the priorities that I have, I'm not going to be the one that's going to fall off the list.
Yeah.
Once you get that and that becomes your standard, you're going to see a difference.
Wow.
Yeah, because that's a boundary that you give to yourself and you respect it, and that's different. So every day, ask yourself, what did I do for me?
I like that.
So
Chelsea. I like that. Good stuff. I appreciate you.
yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, that was really good.
Thank you.
QA, what y'all got?
So I love how you say, like, pour into yourself, like you ask your patients that. How do you pour into yourself?
Okay, how do I pour into myself?
Oh yeah, so how do you pour into yourself?
How do I pour into myself? So I do therapy. I do therapy once a week. I did my therapy today.
Nice.
And when my therapist tells me that she's going on vacation, we are fighting. I'm like, what do you mean you're going on vacation?
Yeah.
I cannot miss you for a week. But I am non-negotiable on that. When I started therapy, it was to work on a lot of things that I was sorting through. Now, therapy has become another way that I pour into myself, another way that I shore myself up, because as a nurse practitioner, a lot of my patients come in and unload on me.
100%, yeah.
And I tell my patients, unload on me, because I have that professional barrier where what's going to happen is you have an outlet and you will feel better. And I don't take it to heart and I don't take it home.
Right.
And so it becomes, you're able to let that load go and we're good.
Yeah.
But I'm human, and so some of these things tend to stick.
Yeah, stick.
And so doing therapy helps me really just keep focused in my life as a mom, in my life as a business owner, in my life as an employer. I'm very big on my employee gets a mental health day, a paid mental health day every month, because I want her to have a day where she is supposed to be pouring into herself. And she knows it, and I try to live what I preach, and so it's, for me, I do therapy, I do yoga, working out. I love to eat, I love to sleep. So those things, I try to do those.
The pillars, the five.
Yes.
The five.
And I listen to books. So
cool.
I listen to audiobooks.
Nice.
I do. Before I had a business, I could do 300, 400 books a year.
Wow.
Now I do 100.
Wow.
Which for me is
so
like
awesome.
a life. It's like a life. Like 100 books versus 300, 400. But I do 300, 400 books a year. So yeah, that's how I pour into myself. I've started like doing trips.
Nice.
So trying different foods, and I love building websites, so I do that. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I use BetterHelp a lot. I have a counselor that's like amazing.
Yep.
There's no way we could do what we do. No way.
No. Yeah. So.
Good question. Good question.
I might have missed this part, but how did you decide what kind of practice clinic you want to open up, like specialty?
Ooh.
So,
How did you? What was the question? How did you decide?
How did you decide what kind of practice?
How did you decide what kind of practice you wanted to start?
So initially when I started, I was just going to do like a traditional primary care practice. Okay. And then my patients started coming to me with like different problems. Like they'll be like, I want to lose weight. And, I'm like, okay, we can do a weight loss program. But I realized that whilst we were doing a weight loss program, I wasn't being able to do it within the confines of insurance. So I said, okay, I'm going to add medical weight loss to my practice. Then same thing, IV therapy became the same thing, where patients will come to me and say, oh, I went to this place for IV therapy and they couldn't get my veins. And I'm like, that's weird because Chelsea always gets my veins. And so I added on IV therapy, same thing. I added on hormone replacement, same thing. I just added on body sculpting and laser hair removal and microneedling. All of these things walk into my door because patients walk into my door asking for it, and I do the research. I'm like, okay, this will be good, something good to add on. And the beautiful thing about being my own boss is I don't got to, ask anybody. I can just say, okay, we're adding this, and we add it.
That's
so,
cool.
But how did I decide the kind of practice? I still haven't decided the kind of practice I want to have. I think the kind of practice that I want to have is always evolving. I want to be a medical home, a wellness home for my patients, where is truly one-stop shop for the whole family. They walk in and they get the care that they need and walk out and feel like they have gotten care. So it may be physical, it may be emotional, but sometimes I help a patient do their resume. And that's what they needed. So that's what we did. Or I help a patient write out a schedule for themselves for the day because they can't figure out. And that's what they needed. So that's what we did.
That's cool.
So my practice is what my patient needs at the time. And on paper, I'm a primary care provider.
That's cool.
But I tell my patients, like, I'm a primary care provider. Primary means the first care. Right. And so whatever your need is, I am your first care.
Yes. Yeah.
And so whatever the need is for that patient at that time, that's me.
That's cool.
Yeah.
For you to say, what advice would you give to someone who's looking to open up their own practice?
Ooh, what advice would you give to someone who's looking to open up their own practice?
I've given this advice recently. If you can do telehealth, absolutely do telehealth to start. Because in as much as I opened this big practice, 3,000 square feet, it was a whole lot of work.
Yeah.
A lot of work, a lot of commitment. Don't leave your 9 to 5 if you can. Try to establish and start practicing telehealth for a good 6 to 8 months before you even start looking at space. Be okay with the vision you have for your practice changing, because it absolutely is not a fixed thing.
Yeah.
You might start off and think, like I started, I'm like, I'm going to do just primary care. I'm not going to do anything else. And I realized that's actually not sustainable, especially with the way I want to practice. In truth, primary care in the true sense of the word is a numbers game. I mean, you have to be seeing 30, 40 patients a day to really make it work financially in primary care. So in order for me to be able to see patients for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, and give them what they really need, I had to add some cash pay stuff to it. And I had to be okay with letting my practice change, because the goal was how I wanted to practice, not what I wanted to practice. And so not limiting myself as far as that, and just giving myself the room and the okay to just change my mind if it doesn't work. Yeah.
That's cool. That's good.
And don't use your own money to do everything. It's absolutely terrible idea. I thought, I'm going to open my business. I'm not going to go in debt. I'm just going to do it on my own. Bad idea. Don't do that. Don't do that.
It's tough. Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's just a curious one about the fire. So you were in your...
Okay, so the fire happened August 30th of 2020.
That's when you graduated, right?
I graduated April.
Okay.
And August 30th, 2020, around like 5 a.m., I was sleeping. And it's so, the smoke alarm, fire alarm didn't go off. But it was so loud because the fire department was waking people up. And I was like, why are my neighbors making so much noise? It's 5 a.m. So I woke up and I went to the bathroom, and then I was like, why is it so loud? So I came out of my room, and like the way my apartment was, my room, there was the middle, the living room in the middle, and then my daughter's room on the other side. And so I walked to the door, and I was like, why are they making so much noise? And then I was walking back to my room to go back to sleep, and I just looked out the window and I saw red. And I just pulled my neck up, and I'm like, oh, there's a fire. And at that time, my daughter was with her dad, and I had forgotten because I was sleeping. So I rushed back to her room, and then I remembered that she wasn't there. So then I rushed back to my room, and then I'm standing there like, what do I take? You know when they ask you like, what would you take when there's a fire?
There's no way to
It really happened to me, and I could not remember what I was gonna take. Yeah, so I was like, okay. I put on some clothes, and then I could not find my shoes, and I had these different color flip-flops in front of my door, so I put my feet in them. And so muscle memory, right? Every time I got out of my apartment, I would lock the door. So although there was a fire, I was trying to lock my door, and I realized I didn't have my key, so I went back in and I got my key. That was the only reason why I had my car key.
Oh my God.
I would not have had my car key, but because of that muscle memory, and I was like, okay, I gotta go. And then I went back in there, I grabbed my car key. I had my car key, I had my phone, I had my clothes on, and 2 different color flip-flops, the left one.
That's it?
That's it.
Wow, and then when you got out,
I got out, everybody was downstairs.
And then they were like, they wouldn't let anybody go back in once you...
And nobody could go back in there, and that was it. That was the last time I saw everything that I owned ever again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Driver's license, everything.
Everything.
Ooh.
Everything. Everything.
Wow.
My daughter's little, from the hospital box, that her birth certificate, everything. Jewelry my dad had given me, everything. Because I had a lot of stuff that I had moved to Ghana with, so yeah, everything. But I always say, you know, my things didn't burn down; they burned up. And so after that, I don't feel like my life has been worse. I mean, I went through that, so what could really be worse? So yeah.
That's a good attitude. Wow. That is wild.
Last thing, where they can find her and everything.
Yeah, where can people find Chelsea for care?
So I own Orchid Wellness, so it's myOrchidWellness.com. On all the socials, it's at Orchid Wellness Clinic, Facebook, Instagram. I don't know how to use TikTok. I have a TikTok account, but I don't know how to use it. So, but I'm on there. It's called my Orchid at OrchidWellnessClinic.com. At Orchid Wellness Clinic for TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and Threads.
Nice.
You know, we are in Carrollton on Josie Lane, 3620 North Josie Lane. Office number, you can text it. So it's 469-892-0194. You can text or call. Send me a message through the socials, all of that. Yeah, I'm always ready to educate. I have random people call me on Facebook, like the Facebook Messenger, to ask me questions. And I love educating because I just feel like that's my ministry. That's what I'm called to do, and I'm willing to do it.
That's cool. Wow. Thank you so much for hopping on.
course.
That's awesome. Well done.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Charles with Charlotte Health Services. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please remember to like and subscribe. We hope this was a blessing to you, your family, your loved ones, all your friends. Share it. And if you want to watch more videos, here they are. Enjoy, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.